They say money can't buy happiness, but in my case, $35 million bought me a front row seat to the most calculated betrayal in Seattle's history. Imagine sitting in a mahogany-lined office, mourning your father, only to have a lawyer look you in the eye and say, "Ma'am, the records show you've been legally divorced for months." While I was holding my husband's hand at night, he had already erased me from his life on paper. But he made one fatal mistake. He didn't know about the inheritance, and he definitely didn't know how far I was willing to go to take back what was mine. Before we dive into this web of lies, corporate sabotage, and the ultimate revenge, do me a huge favor. If you believe that karma always finds its way home, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below saying justice. Your support helps us tell these stories. Now, let's go back to where the rain started to fall. The Seattle rain didn't just fall that afternoon. It felt like it was trying to wash the city away. My name is Haley Bennett. At 35 years old, I was the CEO of Novatech. To the outside world, I was a tech titan, a woman who had it all. To my husband, Victor Vance, I was apparently nothing more than a ghost. We started Novatech in a 300 square foot apartment that smelled like burnt coffee and leaked air conditioning units. I was the heart, the contracts, the finances, the human resources, the sweat. Victor was the brain, the code, the servers, the logic. We grew from a team of 6 to a powerhouse of 130 employees. We were the power couple of South Lake Union. But the thing about power couples is that sometimes one person is just using the other's light to hide their own shadows. Our marriage had a hole in it. A hole shaped like a child we couldn't have. I spent years in sterile clinics enduring hormone injections that made my skin crawl and my heart heavy. I listened to my mother-in-law, Margaret, tell me at every single family dinner that a woman without an heir was just a guest in the family, not a member. Victor would always pat my hand and say, "Don't worry, honey, it's not your fault." I believed him. I believed him even when he came home smelling like a perfume I didn't own. I believed him when he stayed overnight at the office for the 5th time in a month. I thought we were just tired. I didn't realize he wasn't tired. He was busy building a life I wasn't invited to understand how I lost my marriage. You have to understand how I tried to save a soul. Years ago, my father, Richard, took me to a struggling town in Appalachia. He taught me that kindness needs a fence. People will just use you as a doormat. That's where I met Chloe Jenkins. She was 20, pale, and looked like she was drowning in her own life. Her mother, Brenda, was a professional victim who owed money to dangerous people. I felt a pull in my chest. I paid off their $15,000 debt. I brought Chloe to Seattle. I paid for her school, her laptop, and her studio apartment. I remember the first time she met Victor. She looked at his code like it was magic. Victor laughed, a sound I hadn't heard in weeks. I thought it was sweet. I thought I was helping a girl find her feet. I didn't know I was bringing a predator into my living room. My father died on a Tuesday. The grief was a physical weight. After the funeral, I went to see his attorney, Michelle Cole. This was supposed to be about his estate. Michelle looked at me with a pity that made my stomach turn. The probate lawyer tapped his screen and sighed. "Miss Bennett, we have a conflict. The system shows you as a single woman." A default divorce decree was finalized at the end of the first quarter. The room went silent. I could hear the clock ticking on the wall like a hammer. I had just received a text from Victor that morning saying, "It's pouring, remember your coat. Love you, love me." He had legally severed our life together months ago. I realized then how he did it. Months ago, when my father was in the ICU, Victor brought a stack of Series B funding papers to my desk. I was exhausted, crying, and desperate. He told me to sign the tabs quickly to save the company. I trusted him. I signed my own divorce papers thinking I was securing our future. He had the court notices sent to the office and intercepted by our receptionist, Nancy. He didn't just leave me. He tricked me into signing my own execution. But here was the twist. My father's will. He left me $35 million in separate, non-marital property. Because Victor had divorced me before my father passed, he had legally forfeited any right to that inheritance. He thought he was cutting me out of his life at the perfect time. but he actually cut himself out of the biggest payday of his existence. I didn't confront him. Not yet. I hired a private investigator named Kevin. Within 48 hours, Kevin found the truth. A luxury condo in Bellevue. Unit 234. Victor didn't just have a mistress. He had an entire family. There were photos. Victor, Chloe, and a 3-year-old boy named Nate. The boy called him Daddy. While I was sitting in IVF clinics alone, he was playing house with the girl I rescued from the mud. He used Novatex vendor accounts, my company's money, to buy that condo and pay for the kids' private preschool. When I finally confronted him at home, tossing the photos on the coffee table, he didn't even apologize. He looked at me with a cold, terrifying disgust. "I'm a man, Haley," he said, biting into a slice of apple. "I needed a real family. Chloe gave me a son. You gave me hormone shots and guilt. We're divorced. It's over." Then came the threat. He opened his laptop and showed me the back end of our company. "If you try to fire me or make a scene, I'll trigger the kill switch. I control the servers. I'll brick the product launch. The investors will sue you into the ground. And your 130 employees will be homeless. You stay quiet until the Series B launch is over, or I destroy everything." Victor thought I was a broken woman. He didn't realize I was Richard Bennett's daughter. I reached out to Derek Mitchell, a cybersecurity genius my father had secretly mentored years ago. We set up a secret war room in my father's old cabin in Snoqualmie. While Victor was busy moving Chloe and his mother, Margaret, into my house. Yes, they actually moved into my home while I was still there. We were auditing the soul of the company. We found the embezzlement. $850,000 funneled to shell companies owned by Chloe's mother, Brenda. We found the backdoors Victor's lead developer, Lucas, had installed to sabotage the system. The disrespect reached its peak at a family dinner in Spokane. Margaret told me to my face that I should be grateful to give Victor half my inheritance because I couldn't provide a bloodline. Chloe sat in my chair, wearing my favorite apron, feeding Victor's son at my table. I stood up, looked at the whole room of parasites, and said, "A family isn't built on fraud, and an inheritance meant to protect me won't fund a mistress." I walked out. The war was officially on. The day of the Series B demo was the most important day of my life. The ballroom was full of billionaires and journalists. Victor was in the front row, smug. He waited for his moment. He stood up, grabbed a microphone, and announced that the system was compromised. He hit the enter key on his laptop, expecting the screens to go dark. He expected me to fall to my knees. The screens stayed bright. Access denied, his screen read. Derek had neutralized the threat weeks ago. I stepped onto the stage and showed the world a different presentation. I showed the forensic audit. I showed the shell companies. I showed the embezzlement. In the back of the room, the police were waiting. But the final blow wasn't the handcuffs. It was the manila folder Kevin handed to Victor. A paternity test. It turns out Chloe was playing Victor too. Little Nate wasn't Victor's son. He was the son of her ex-boyfriend back in Appalachia, whom she was still extorting for child support. Victor had destroyed his marriage, his career, and his reputation for a child that wasn't even his. As Victor was dragged out in handcuffs, screaming at Chloe, I felt a strange sense of peace. Victor went to prison for wire fraud and embezzlement. Chloe and Brenda were charged as accessories. Margaret, the woman so obsessed with her bloodline, lost everything: her son, her fake grandson, and her dignity. I used my inheritance to fix the company and start a foundation for women who have been legally defrauded by their partners. Today, the rain in Seattle doesn't feel cold anymore. It feels like a fresh start. I learned a hard lesson. Kindness without boundaries is just an invitation for the ungrateful. I am Haley Bennett. I am no longer a wife, but I am finally free. And that is the story of how a $45 million inheritance became the key to a woman's freedom. It goes to show that the people who think they are playing you are often just playing themselves. If you enjoyed this journey and want to see more stories of incredible justice, please share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell icon so you never miss an upload. What would you have done if you found out your husband secretly divorced you? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one. Thanks for watching, and remember, keep your eyes open and always read before you sign. I'll see you in the next one.